The most dangerous person in any room is not the loudest one. It is the one you almost forgot was there. There is a specific type of person that makes others uncomfortable without doing anything at all. No threats, no aggression, no performance. Just a silence so complete, so controlled, that the people around them start to feel exposed. Like something is being read in them that they never chose to show. You have met someone like this, and you remember exactly how it felt. Here is what most people will never say out loud. Noise is a defense mechanism. When people talk too much, interrupt too quickly, fill every silence with opinions, they are not being social. They are managing anxiety. They are covering something. The constant output of words is a wall built to keep others from seeing inside. But quiet people do not build that wall, and that terrifies everyone around them. Because silence, real silence, is not emptiness. It is patience. It is observation. It is the slow accumulation of information about everyone in the room while giving nothing away in return. It is asymmetric power. And somewhere in the animal part of the human brain, people recognize this. They cannot name it, but they feel it. The quiet person knows more than they say, and everyone knows it. There is a character in anime that embodies this better than almost anyone ever written. Johan Liebert. If you have never watched Monster, understand this. Johan is not a fighter. He carries no weapon in most scenes. He raises his voice almost never. He does not dominate rooms with presence or intimidation in the conventional sense. He walks in, speaks softly, and within minutes, people's entire lives begin to collapse. Not because of what he does, because of what he says. And more importantly, because of what he makes people feel about themselves. Johan had a gift that is deeply unsettling to think about. He listened, completely. When he spoke to someone, they felt like the only person alive, like he had understood something about them that no one else had ever bothered to see. And then, with that understanding, he reached inside them and pulled. That is not fiction. That is one of the most accurate portrayals of a certain kind of real human intelligence ever written. Most people move through the world projecting. They are constantly broadcasting who they are, what they want, how they feel, what they think of you. This is social survival behavior. It is how most humans establish safety and connection. But a small percentage of people do the opposite. They receive. They sit inside conversations and collect. Every micro-expression, every hesitation before an answer, every topic someone avoids, every word someone uses twice. These people are not being cold, they are being precise. And there is something genuinely unnerving about someone who processes more than they emit, because you cannot read them. And we are wired, evolutionarily, to need to read the people around us. It is how we assess threat and safety. When someone gives you nothing to read, your nervous system does not go calm. It goes alert. This is why quiet people are not just respected, they are feared. Not feared like danger, feared like depth, like looking down into water and not being able to see the bottom. Think about the people in your life who talk the most. You know everything about them, their insecurities, their patterns, their triggers. They have handed you a complete map of themselves without realizing it. Now think about the person who barely spoke. You are still thinking about them. You are still trying to figure out what they thought of you, whether they liked you, what was behind those eyes. That asymmetry is power. Not performed power, not aggressive power, structural power. The kind that does not need to announce itself because it is already operating. Johan Liebert never needed to threaten anyone. He simply understood people more completely than they understood themselves. And when someone knows you better than you know yourself, you are not dealing with an equal. You are dealing with something else entirely. This is not about becoming cold or emotionally disconnected. That is a misreading. The people who cultivate this quality in real life are not emotionally absent. They are emotionally disciplined. There is a significant difference. Anyone can go silent out of fear or social anxiety. That is not power. That is withdrawal. Real silence is a choice made from fullness, not emptiness. It comes from someone who has so much processing happening internally that external noise feels like a distraction. Someone who has trained themselves to be more interested in understanding than in being understood. And here is what changes when you develop this. You stop needing approval from every room you enter. You stop bleeding energy into every conversation. You start noticing things that most people miss entirely. You become, slowly, the person that others leave interactions thinking about. The one whose opinion carries weight precisely because it is given rarely. People do not fear the quiet person because they are mysterious for the sake of it. They fear them because the quiet person has already seen what no one else bothered to look for. There is one more thing about Johan that deserves to be said. He was not feared because he was evil. In the story, yes, but in the psychological architecture of the character, what made him unbearable to be near was something else. He reflected people back at themselves. He would sit across from someone and, with almost nothing, surface the parts of them they had spent years burying. The parts they were ashamed of. The parts they had built entire personalities to hide. He did not attack people. He simply made them visible to themselves. And that, for most human beings, is the most terrifying thing imaginable. Because we do not fear being judged by others nearly as much as we fear being truly seen. The quiet observer does not need to say anything damaging. Their attention alone is the mirror. Here is the thing about silence that no one teaches you. It is not the absence of something. It is the presence of everything unspoken. The loudest people in any room are trying to convince you of something. The quiet ones have already decided. And you will spend the rest of the interaction wondering what that decision was. Johan Liebert was a monster in fiction, but the principle he was built on is older than any story. Older than language, maybe. The one who watches without reacting holds all the information and reveals none. And in a world that rewards performance, a person who refuses to perform is not invisible. They are the only real thing in the room.